All right. Well, I am sorry to disappoint some of you, but there is going to be more than just the preview to this. And no, we're not starting with it. No, I'm not going to give you a timestamp because this isn't YouTube. But we are going to take just a little short jaunt through some of the cards that have been revealed already, and discuss, what they look like, where they come from, what our thoughts are on them, and sort of, see what happens from there. And I think some of this will be a nice precursor to explaining what our final card is, that I think is going to really generate a lot of feedback from the community, and is going to be kind of polarizing. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But
since it's our first time on video, so those of you who haven't seen it before, this stunning gentleman over here is Jan. First time on camera that you guys can see.
Yeah, and since it is our first reveal, we can do, and we are very happy about for BCP.
Yeah,
that is, we can do it. Really, thanks again for that very much.
Yeah, I feel like without certain action that happened that's going to be part of an upcoming podcast, this wouldn't have been possible at all.
Yeah, but let's just say, let's just dive right in.
Sure. Our first card is Doc Martina. The Ravnos have some interesting cards, even of what's been previewed so far.
Just what I forget to say, or what we forgot to say, the short structure is we want to talk about the other clans first, and then come to Salubri.
Yeah, we're going to go through them one by one in semi-alphabetical order, ending on what will be related to our preview card. Sorry. So Doc Martina has a decent ability, going to be very useful for bloat style, or not bloat style decks, clown car style decks, because you're going to have some of your weenies ended up in torpor, and now you get to pay less for them.
And also, looking at the disciplines, I think she is quite good.
Mm-hmm.
But as from the cards which have been spelled already, the presence at inferior while obfuscate and superior just balances her a bit.
Yeah, I think. It is well balanced considering. Going into the next card though, nice little 3-cap with animalism in Trung Chaam. Not a lot to say about this card except that having another 3-cap with superior animalism is fun, although it's in group 7, so not a lot of go-between with a lot of other clans.
But I think he might be the first 3-cap with superior animalism in V5.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
Yep. But that group 7, that'll take us though into Zafira, a 4-cap, again, making sure that they don't have that superior. Lesser obfuscate, superior presence. At least the better of the two disciplines to have it superior for these purposes on a 4-cap. What do you think?
I would say depends on the deck you want to build, but given from the deck list, Ravnos have shared obfuscate would probably be the better call.
Also, props to Nora on the hair on this card. I really appreciate the fun coloration. I don't know. I like how soft and fluffy it seems like. All right, so we can't talk about the vampires without talking about the library cards that have also been previewed. And the first one already had quite a bit of a discussion in Discord, because it's a copy of some things. It's basically a version of Draba, but also a version of another card that people don't seem to ever remember, probably because it's not great. Veiled Sight, but very similar to the two. It's an inferior card, reducing a minion's stealth to 0, which Veiled Sight had initially, with an extra effect, much like Veiled Sight. So basically is Veiled Sight with a diminished cost and a combat ends instead of a Steel of Blood.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think this is actually a great card. Like Nightteros feel like it somewhat hits the Ravenous theme of being not so straight at one place, but going just meddling in affairs all over the place and trying to block something with strike competence is really not too bad.
Not to mention, going back to that argument that people were having about this card being like too much more powerful. Come on, guys. Veiled Sight and Draba are in what, A3 deck lists on the TWD, and if that's even the case, I don't even know that that's the case. I forgot. Going back to it, these are not played cards. Increasing the power level of either of these cards and adding a better effect just seems like a smart thing to do in general. What, you hate when they make cards better, but you also hate when they make cards worse, but you hate when they keep cards the same? Come on, everybody. Can we all get together and pick a lane? Speaking of picking a lane, Visions of Zapathasar. I cannot say this word because it's too many vowels and syllables. Thank you.
Zafira. You're welcome.
So
I can go ahead. Sorry.
So here we have another sort of hybrid card, similar to Ignis Fatuus and Illusory Resources. Again, better than both in basically every way. But I didn't see this get a lot of talk about it, considering just how good this card really sort of feels like it is. Jan, how do you feel about the card?
Carl has made a comment.
Yeah, going back to
the chat. He said Zafira being a blanishing, but he has also said 26 total TVDs with reduced stealth to 0, 1 wheel sight, rest Brava.
Yeah, that's not a lot considering total decks.
But I think considering the cards we know from all 3 decks right now, and the one we are going to reveal, Visions fit quite good because we have a lot of bleeds in V5 and they're being high. We have Archon now, of course, which I don't like. But
gotta poke that in every thing. I wonder how you get into the next podcast.
But I think having a different means of reduction. How I did lose 2, as you know, quite good. Still bothered by it.
Somebody else could have saved your vampires with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I think in that deck you could have saved your own vampires with this if you could have played it during your own turn.
No, I think I couldn't have reacted to Archon.
Oh no,
But really excited how it will impact the game and V5 meta.
Yeah.
Too.
From there, we're going to move on because there's only so far been 2 Ravnos cards spoiled. So we'll move on to the Tzimisce. A little bit out of order alphabetically, but who cares? It's Adreno Manurua. I hope I said that right. Sorry. Again, I am American. We can't do words proper.
Oh, you'll learn. I think there's nothing much to say about him other than he's a great card. Like, he wants to do combat. He has every discipline for that.
He's got Potence at Inferior on top of it just to be additionally aggressive. Like, this is a scary vampire in a lot of ways. And a additional mandatory press is really, really interesting. I think this is going to create some both really good and really bad scenarios for Adreno here.
Yeah.
Going from there, we got Marialina.
Oh, yeah. Scary vampire that will bleed for all.
Yeah.
Absolute agree call.
Marielina is another scary vampire that I think will actually bleed for a lot. Superior Dominant and Superior Protean right off the top. People were talking about how there's the drawback is so bad, but the drawback is nothing just about, right? Like, this is a powerhouse. You've now got really good stealth out of Protean. You've got, I mean, your dominates, you've obviously got good bleeds, you've got seduction. How does she go wrong?
And if you're too scared of burning blood before block resolution, you can use her to block.
Yeah.
And again, she has a lot of powerful disciplines for that.
Yeah. From there, we got Prentice Derby. Just a straightforward guy. No offense to the artist, this art, I don't like this art, but it has nothing to do with whether or not it's good. I just don't like this art. There's something about him that just really messes with my head. Maybe it's the lighting they've done for him. Maybe it's the look on his face that looks somewhere between constipated and in pain. It does seem a little plastic.
Yeah.
But good discipline spread overall. Nice little 4-cap that does what a 4-cap's supposed to. Fill that slot if you need one. But the Zami have some good cards to play with that are coming. But I don't think Invigorate is one of them. I'm going to say that right now.
No, I do have to disagree here there.
Okay, let's hear it. Because I don't think that either of its counterpoints, I can't speak French, or Loose Cannon were all that good a card either. And this is just the two of those kind of smushed together as forcibly as they possibly could to see what kind of juice fell out.
Well, I think if more than one discipline could be used, it would be absolutely devastating.
Yeah, it would be. It would probably be approaching that level of being imbalanced.
And being able to play Invigorate to scare people off from blocking by playing Protean, I think, and we don't have a ally heavy meta yet, but in V5. But if you look at Virginia not being able to block, I think this can be quite in the right time. At the right time, it can be quite a good tool.
Yeah, it just feels so limited because like each of these effects is just too little for what the total composite card is. And it feels like, considering the other Anarch cards we've got, like this is like the card to present as, see, they're not heavily pushing overpowered Anarch cards. So maybe you'll be right. Maybe we'll see it played more. I think that at least two of these modes need to be able to be connected together at any given time for this card to really be what I feel like the potential it needs to unlock.
Yeah, being able to use two would be up its power quite a bit, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious about that one.
Opposite that, though, Obedient Flesh is a card that I think we can both agree is a incredibly strong card. When you mix together Horrid form and Plastic form, you just get, I guess, near perfect form.
Yeah, and we have talked about this a few times. It does have something which is quite strong in Wheatus, I think. Versatility. You can use it during combat or while blocks are determined, or even during both. So no reason not to run it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's nice that it has to be played each round to at least balance it out a little bit. I think otherwise this card would be outrageously powerful, but even still, I think this is a very strong card that's easily going to see a lot of play in Zamitzi decks, and probably in some even non-Zamitzi decks.
Yeah, I mean, Stanislava could be
a
typical.
I'm sure even in V5
run it.
we'll see some Gangrel that end up having Dominate, and this being much more relevant than we expect. But moving on from there, let's get into the clan we're going to get to spoil a card for. Let's move to the Salubri. And first we have Abdon, a machine.
And I think he's a great vampire,
Yeah.
absolutely. Being an 8-cap optional maneuver and optional press is quite good, but I think not as combat oriented as Tismishi.
True. But here we are getting inferior fortitude or inferior potence and inferior celerity on top of it, which is seemingly going to be very impactful in the game overall. You may actually want to splash this into something else, or potentially throw a grapple in there every once in a while.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be really good. I look forward to seeing what people do with him in the future.
And Carl says he's get all of the combat management tools every combat, and absolutely true.
Yep. Also, gonna say it: diversion.
No, I think diversion requires Anarch, which he's not.
You can turn him Anarch converts there. That's my excuse for everything.
Fair enough, but not out of the box.
Then there's Dominica. This is an incredible 3-cap. I love this 3-cap. That's shots fired, Carl. We'll talk about that another time.
Well, I think what I'm curious about is with her and with the other one we'll see, the ability to search a library has been in 2 or 3 real vampires from Salubri. So I'm very curious about how strong or how present the archetype thing will be for Salubri.
Yeah. Even pending just what we have right now, I mean, this being able to go get Dabbler is really good. And what you'll see in just a little bit is there's a really good reason you'd want to put the Dabbler on your Salubri. But before we get there, we still have to talk about the other search guy who has, by the way, whoever uploaded this to BCP, come on, 244 pixels? Really? Like, please no. There is no date for the pre-orders yet.
But in the newsletter, I think December
is the expectation.
Being mentioned.
Yeah. But here we do, even if you can't really read Sakar's font really well, I'll give you the rundown. Sakar can search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, and put it in your hand as a +1 stealth action. Obviously, you got to discard down afterwards. He's got a reasonable discipline spread with superior fortitude, superior auspex, and inferior dominate as a 6-cap. Whoops. Not yet. But yeah, I really think this guy is going to be interesting. Taking an action to search is a little slow, but you do have fortitude for being able to freak drive. So that should balance out this guy pretty well. It's basically pay 1 to find the equipment you want.
And there's so many things he can search. And so being able to get what you want in the moment you want it.
Yeah, it's not limited. You can even get Bangna.
What's Bangna? I probably don't want to know.
But going from there, they have to play some cards in order to get there. And to help his action be more successful, there's Forced Confessional.
And I think Forced Confessional has had some discussion on the Discord. Yeah, and I think it's a really great card, which goes, as you can see, with other dominate tools too.
Yeah, like seduction and bonding, which I forgot to move to back in this particular slide.
And yeah, being able to generate either stealth or make a block attempt fail it's quite strong.
So I'm going to talk about this part in a later podcast, but I also feel like it would have been nice if this weren't Salubri exclusive, per se. If this was just an amalgam power instead of a Salubri plus dominate power. I know it feels strong to some people, but I don't know. I'm curious as to what it would have looked like in a different way.
Well, I'm not sure if I agree. If it would be an Auspex amalgam, no way this is fair. Being Marcavians being able to access it would be too strong. Like they would have to block them as.
I guess that's
straight
fair.
on the hand.
We can save that. We can table this discussion for a later podcast.
And Carl also added, we know the Carl is balanced because of Call of the Hungry Dead. Just a clone.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So let's get to our card. I don't have any drum roll, and I don't really want a drum roll. I just want to, first of all, take a look at this art. I do really like this art. This has good spooky vibes to it. Like, great effect. The lighting looks really fantastic. Just great colors to the card itself. Really do love the art for this card. But that's not what you're here for, right? You've already seen the art for the card. So what is the card? Well, first of all, the art's going to be about this size on the card.
Stop being a tease.
It's going to be an action. It's obviously going to be a Salubri card that also requires Dominate. That part, the requiring Dominate, not so obvious, but definitely going to be a Salubri card with the Salubri eye at the top. It is going to have a cost. It's not going to be free. And let's get ready for people to be a little triggered here. You ready for it, Jan?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So it's a Govern the Unaligned combined with the Restoration. You can bleed with +2 bleed, or as above, you can Scouting Mission or Lesser Restoration. Your choice.
But
if successful.
Yeah, it's successful. And I think it is even stronger than Restoration because you can choose another vampire.
Yeah. It does have to be younger, though, and it can't be yourself, obviously, so that does make it a little worse than Restoration in that little aspect of it. It doesn't pay for your immediate thing. But if you've got good table lock, this is give a blood to this guy and then give it like chain blood down the tree until you can get it on an uncontrolled vampire or anything. I think it's very strong, and I think it's like a near forced include for Salubri, but you had a slightly different opinion.
Yeah, I think it is an absolutely strong card, but compared to Govern the Unaligned, it has a strategic advantage, which is also a disadvantage at the same time, in my opinion, since it is a bleed, which has to be successful. It is also at no stealth, and it can be bounced, and this is something. So it can be blocked easier, and if it is bounced, you have to consider options if you want to bleed your cross-table ally to be able to speed up in any way, or if you want to get blocked.
Yeah. So it does have that tempting aspect, right? Where you really are thinking like, maybe I do want to bleed my cross-table ally because I really need to get this vampire out this turn.
Yeah, so it's easier for your prey, or whoever the target is, to make something with it you don't want to.
You also made another point when we were talking about this a little earlier that I said like you wouldn't really want to bonding this, but you seem to feel like you're going to be more cases where you want to bonding this for the value.
Yeah. This is for the reason I think Salubri don't have access to a lot of stealth, and bonding is a card which can generate stealth, which can also be, before versatility is a good tool in VTES, can be used differently as well. So you can use a modifier which in a twofold way. And otherwise you would have to generate stealth cards in it, which there are not as much from the disciplines Salubri have. Yeah.
And yeah, Carl, I don't think this is going to be a card where people don't run govern, but I definitely think that this is going to feel a lot more like it's hard for a Salubri player to not want to run this card. It just does so much in one card. I really have to say this does feel like good playtest design. I feel like there are ways this card could have been a lot worse that Jan and I can talk about in a future podcast. But overall, like, very, very interesting, very good design, very, very somewhat flavorful here in being able to heal someone while taking from something else. Just going to be a lot of fun to see how this impacts formats, and especially has a play on V5.
And I think if it would not be Salubri exclusive, it would be an OP card.
Yeah.
It would actually be OP.
Yeah.
But considering
I feel like though you'd change up the card if you're going to make it a non-Salubri exclusive card. Maybe you wouldn't put blood on an uncontrolled vampire or something like that. But
I think given the deck list from Salubri, I mean, they have Prevent, they have Weighted Walking Stick,
they
have some Freak Drive, but I think this is Law Firm archetype, if I'm correct.
It'll be that kind of grinder style bruise, slow movement trying to take out your vampire.
And for this reason, I feel they need ways to go forward. And since they're going to be blocked a lot, they also need to be efficient about keep being able to keep running.
Yep.
And I think this is what Feast of the Soul Secret does really good.
So that's what we have for you today. I look forward to any discussion you guys might have, either in opposition or in agreement with our opinions on this card. We've got another episode that'll be in the pipeline for not too far down the road. I think that people are really going to find that episode pretty interesting. But until then, we will see you next time, guys.
Yeah, and thank you so much for listening, and have a good night.